I think Palworld did the one thing that it never expected. I think it's helped its competition. You heard me right. Palworld helped Pokemon. I remember first discovering Pokemon by stealing my sister's DS Lite. I remember spending so many hours playing Pokemon Diamond on that tiny little white DS. It's one of the many reasons for me starting this channel. Most of the time, when Palworld comes up in conversation, there are conversations mainly talking about the death of this game, or it's people defending the game from poor argument or stupid accusations. Kind of like the stupid accusations that ruined Dream's career, where they accused the game of something, or they accused Dream in this case, for this example, of something, and then didn't want to show any evidence and said, no, I'm right, I don't need to show any evidence.
It's much easier to completely make up that something happened than it is to prove that it never did.
Those are pointless accusations that no one will back up. But this game has done so much in its lifetime. On top of that, it has a lot of major downfalls. And Pokemon, as a company, can learn so much from this game. But to talk about how Palworld can help Pokemon, we gotta talk about where both of these games came from. Well, Pokemon is Pokemon. If you do not know what Pokemon is, Pokemon came from the creature collection genre, coming out in Japan in 1996, and in the US in 1998. It grew to be one of the most top grossing companies today. If you have not heard of Pokemon, you must have been living under a rock for years. To put in perspective, if you somehow have never heard of this company, in its 20 some odd years of making video games, stuffed animals, trading cards, apparel, toys, whatever, it has generated over $100 billion in revenue. Literally has been sitting on my desk in almost every video since like January or something like that. And this is what Palworld fixes their damn servers so that every time we play on the server, it doesn't crash every 5 minutes. It's not like this company has made $48 million off of this game and they totally don't have the budget. This game announced all the way back in 2021 and looked very cheap at the time. Pocket Pals, the company that released this game, was a brand new company and it broke Steam records. They got 15 million downloads in its first month of existing. And on top of that, they had 2 million congruent players. Now, they went from having a player base of over 2.1 million people playing at the exact same time to a congruent player base of about 50k players. Now, for a small game company that has just released their first game, having 50k players is amazing. But for a game that broke Steam record in just weeks, a game that had over 15 million downloads, now only has 2% of their player base left, is completely awful. So I do want to ask, why did this game die, and what can Pokemon learn from it? But I also want to say goodbye to what was once a great game. Saying this game is Pokemon with guns barely scratches the surface of what this game is/was, and what the potential of this game is trying to do. And even calling it Pokemon with guns is a waste of description. It feels like a glob of the creature collection genre of Pokemon, the survival aspect of Ark, and the exploration aspect of Breath of the Wild and Eden's Ring, where you can see a place and you can just go to it. Palworld died for one simple reason. When Palworld was released, and even now, it was a great game and it was a fun game. But this game has received no updates concerning new content or new pals. At the end of my last video, I said this. If I don't pin in the clip, I'm gonna laugh. Palworld fixes their damn servers so that every time we play on the server, it doesn't crash every 5 minutes. It's not like this company has made $48 million off of this game and they totally don't have the budget. And this is where the game ultimately failed. The team that had developed this game was a relatively small group of people and they couldn't keep up with what the game demanded. And they had to tackle two major issues. One being new content being added to this game, but also they didn't expect this game to have a player count of 2.1 million players so early on in its career. To just truly give you context of how small this dev team is, when they had originally released this game, they had 10 people working on it, and now they have about 40. So they quickly added people to this team and had only enough time to handle one issue at a time. Do you pick stability or content? The only thing they could have done was to work on stability. On top of that, they needed to expand the team, which also was a whole new can of worms. Now, how can the Pokemon team learn from this game? Now, looking at the initial announcement of Palworld, the game had a ton of work done on it already. Now, it took them 3 years to release the early version of the game, and they're still in the process of preparing new game modes, such as an arena game mode, and that's projected to be finished by the end of this year. And if you look at the Pokemon game release timeline, Pokemon releases a new game every year, either it being a new mainline game, a spin-off, or even a DLC. Recently, Pokemon has broken the cycle. They had released the 2 DLCs for Scarlet and Violet in 2023, and they have now announced Pokemon Z-A. However, it is coming out in 2025. This tells me we aren't receiving anything new in 2024, and it's already the end of April, and we haven't heard anything new about this game coming out. They are building so much suspense around this game, and are definitely taking their time to release something. Instead of rushing to produce their game, they took their time. Hopefully the Pokemon fans will love this game, because looking at the most popular Pokemon game as of recently, Pokemon Legends Arceus, it was a great game, but it lacked in graphics quality. Kind of like myself and a bunch of other people, a lot of people thought it looked very bland. Now they have a lot of time to just smooth out every issue, and it shows that the Pokemon company does care. This brings my hopes up a lot, because I want the game to do well, but looking at what the game gave us in the second DLC for Scarlet and Violet, that was just very mid. Like, the second part was a drag. I didn't even complete it because I was like, this is a waste of time. Compared to the first part, the second part was awful. The first part was amazing. Is that it though? Can Pokemon learn something more than this? What else can Pokemon learn from Palworld? Is it something just as simple as take your time making your games? Honestly, I think that's the biggest lesson the Pokemon company can learn from Palworld. And it's one very simple thing that I don't think a lot of game companies do nowadays. Listen to your community. Your community makes you successful. Without having a great following and a good game, then your company will just fall apart. Recently, the community has been complaining over and over and over again about instances that just suck. Like, everybody has hated the quality of Pokemon games recently. Pokemon can learn so much from Palworld. Hopefully Pokemon actually listens to its community. And if they don't, they're in real trouble, because look at Borderlands 4. Instead of listening to their community, they said, nah, we're just going to cancel the series because we don't care anymore. But besides that, I don't have much to say, so cue the outro. Peace!